Disney-Griffitts to do something in honor of the vets, and we also got Paul Pez Zukowski, just Pez, for those of you. That's all you need to know, just like the candy. And Cowboy Slim.
The ever-tardy Cowboy Slim.
Hey, don't make fun of me.
I don't work well when I have 2 inches of dirt on me either.
Now, Mo, you're going to do something a cappella? Is there Acapulco?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's Lee Hines on percussion. Lee Hines. Y'all need a great percussionist for a gig. Lee is also a badass on the drums. He's not just a free-form percussionist. When I got to play the Ryman Auditorium last year, Lee was my drummer, and he rocked. Okay, let me just check the guitar levels.
Is there a... is this on?
How's that, Slim?
Can you hear it out there?
Yes.
Okay, then it's good.
All right.
Thank you.
Check, 1, 2.
Can you hear that okay?
Yeah, I think I can hear that okay.
All right. All right, we're going to let Mo take charge here for this first song, and then we're going to have Cowboy Slim and Pez play out the set.
Veterans Day 2015. All you veterans in the house, my heart, my dedication, forever. Thank you for what you've done, and welcome home.
Here, here.
I am an American woman. I am the mother of warriors. Everywhere I've gone with this song, I have met people like me. I am you. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends, family, lovers, children. We send our children, our lovers, our friends off to war, and we pray. We are many. We wait, we weep, we worry, and then we cheer them home. And we thank God that they survived a war zone. But in everywhere USA, around every corner, the silence is deafening. Those are the families, the Gold Star families, who will never have their heroes return. Belle and I are just going out there among our fellow Americans to gently remind everyone and raise awareness about our Gold Star families who've lost all, about our heroes who died fighting for our freedom. And that's all we can do for them, is remember they're lost. It is profound. As a nation, a community, individually, whichever way you look at it, it's our job to now love them through their loss by just remembering a name, just a name that means them. And that's all we want to do. Belle is with me because when she was 12 weeks old, she started singing along every time I sang a song. Only my voice, never a siren, just me. She knows my heart and she feels my energy. She is now singing with me for the fallen canine warriors throughout history. And there have been a lot that have died at the side of their soldier. She's taking a break. You guys all know the song. You can sing along if you want to. I've got a second verse that might take you by surprise. It's written, but I didn't even know it existed until I started doing this. But sing along if you like. Belle, you ready? Oh, beautiful, for so for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved. We honor every life. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
What a beautiful voice.
Thank you. I am wearing, in Wyoming alone, we have 30 lost since Desert Storm began. That's a lot per capita. And I know and love every one of these people who's lost their own. And here you are.
The list of the names.
And that's who I want you to think about. I know you all have your own. Everybody knows somebody. But if you want to pick a name off this shirt and just think about that hero, I'm going to go home and tell everybody that they're thinking about you here too. Thank you, everybody, so much. God bless you too.
You want to go ahead? I'm your guest.
Oh, okay. I guess I get to start then. Okay, this is a love song of sorts. Some of you probably already heard this one. Well, they say that love is a splendid thing, and it brings all joy to your life. Yeah, it's all poetry, hearts and flowers, puppy dogs. Yeah, that's right. But they never tell you the little details that are hidden in the fine print. Now, if you want to know if your love is true, just listen, then sing along. Now, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. If you haven't wanted to bury your dearly beloved, 'cause all of us have our last nerve, and then if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Yeah, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Now Alice, she married her high school sweetheart, and she loves him truly. But he's got a few little annoying habits that gotta be changed clearly. Then came the night where she sat down, but the seat, it wasn't there. And in that moment is when Alice decided that she'd sing along. Now, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. If you haven't wanted to bury your dearly beloved, 'cause all of us have our last nerve, and then If you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Yeah, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Now Ralphie, he loves his wife truly, though she's a little bit needy. She wants to talk about their relationship and his feelings. Well, the last time she wanted to do that was during the Super Bowl game. And as Ralphie missed, well, that game went in play, he decided he'd sing along. Now, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. If you haven't wanted to bury your dearly beloved. 'Cause all of us have our last nerve, and then if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Yeah, if you ain't thought of murder, you ain't been in love. Yeah, if you ain't thought of murder, then you ain't been in love. Thank you.
I'll pick up the pace a little bit. I was almost like a father to your children, almost like a husband to you. We were almost like a family to the folks next door, close enough that no one ever knew. Sometimes I swear I thought I knew you. I was where I wanted to be. Sometimes it felt like you felt that way too. You were almost heaven to me. I didn't see it coming, I never thought you'd go. I needed you so badly, how was I to know? I fell so hard that I lost track of how much you were holding back. Loving eyes are blind, but now I see. Almost isn't good enough for me. I almost think you wanted me to hate you. It made it so much easier to leave. I almost wish I could win you back again. That's one trick I don't have up my sleeve. Sometimes I sit here in our bedroom. I almost can forgive the things you've done. You never made a promise that you didn't keep while you were looking out for number one. I didn't see it coming, I never thought you'd go. I needed you so badly, how was I to know? I fell so hard that I lost track of how much you were holding back. Loving eyes are blind, but now I see. Almost isn't good enough for me. Almost isn't good enough for me. Thank you.
That's a good song.
Thank you.
This is the first time I was going to come to Nashville. I had 16,663 points on Amtrak and thought I would get here by a train. Found out ain't no train to Nashville. Thought there had to be a song about that. Something's not right there. Let's try this. Try this one more time. That's better. Now America had a love affair, oh, with that railroad train. We talked about them, sang about them, rode them all of the time. But somehow we got too busy to stop and see the sights. And we got on that silly silver bird for the aeroplane flight. Now there ain't no train to Nashville anymore. No, there ain't no train to Nashville. Union Station's a hotel, 'cause there ain't no train to Nashville, Tennessee anymore. Now if you were in the Windy City and you wanted to tan by Biscayne Bay, you got on that Dixie Limited luxury all Pullman train. You had traditional antebellum fare as you rolled out of Nashville. Then you saw Lookout Mountain for you rolled on to the sea. But see, there ain't no train to Nashville anymore. No, there ain't no train to Nashville. Union Station's a hotel, 'cause there ain't no train to Nashville anymore. Anymore. Now if you were in Cincinnati and you had some wild oats to sow, you got on that Pan American bound for New Orleans. When you saw Nashville Tower, well, you turn on your portable radio. You might hear your own train whistle on that grand old Opry show. But there ain't no train whistles on the Opry anymore. 'Cause there ain't no train to Nashville. Union Station's a hotel, 'cause there ain't no train to Nashville anymore. Anymore, anymore. Thank you.
You want me to pick up the pace again? This is another slow song. It's called Kaleidoscope. Is this thing on? Yeah. Is there a volume control here? All right. Was a holiday parade. They have one every year. Just another lame excuse to sell hot dogs and cold beer. I was looking through a kaleidoscope at the bits of broken glass. Made me stop and wonder and compare it with our past. Little bits and pieces, that's all we have of time. Little bits and pieces, like songs that never rhyme. Broken shards of memories, treasures from the past. Little bits and pieces, like bits of broken glass. I wondered what you're doing as the marching band passed by. It was just a year tomorrow since the day you said goodbye. Picked picked up the phone, then stopped myself. No sense dredging up past. I'll just keep these tiny pieces and bits of broken glass. I'll just keep these tiny pieces and bits of broken glass.
Okay, this time we're really going to pick up the pace. Well, I was feeling a little lonely, so I thought I'd make some new friends online. I met this brunette looker, she was a former beauty queen. She hailed from Middleborough, Kentucky. Well, we talked and we chatted, well, for hours upon hours. Things were getting on quite well. And then she said, when are we gonna meet in real time? You have to come to see me. Come through the gap, that Cumberland Gap. Said you want my love, I can draw you well a map. Through the Cumberland Gap, through the Cumberland Gap. Said you want my love, you're going through the gap. I said, wait a minute, honey, there's an airport next to me. I could fly you up from Knoxville, Tennessee. She said, no, that don't suit my fancy one bit. You have to come to see me. Come through the gap, that Cumberland Gap. Said you want my love, I can draw you well a map. Through the Cumberland Gap, through the Cumberland Gap. Said you want my love, you're going through the gap. So I relented. Well, I went and met her, she was a beauty indeed. And we made love under a star-filled sky. And while this may sound corny, we actually did roll around in some hay. And I was glad I went through the gap. Yeah, I'm glad that I followed her map. Through the Cumberland Gap, through the Cumberland Gap. I was glad that I went through the gap. Well, that was until the next morning. Well, she awoke and smiled sweetly at me and said, today will be our wedding day. What? Huh? Well, she said, you slept with me, that means you're obliged to marry me. At least is the way things ought to well to be. I said, honey, I might like you, I might love you one day, but I ain't marrying you here today. Well, her eyes got all wild, she turned 50 shades of red and started to rant and rave. Then she called up her brother and she called up her dad. She called up everyone in town. Well, I went to leave, but she had hidden my car keys. But she didn't know I had to hide a key. Well, I reached up under the fender and bam, I was gone, leaving smoke and rubber behind. And I ran for the gap,
Through the gap,
that Cumberland Gap.
that Cumberland Gap.
Well, the girl is crazy and that's a fact. That Cumberland Gap,
The Cumberland Gap,
the Cumberland Gap.
that Cumberland Gap.
Yeah, I ran, I ain't ever going back. I did.
Last song. I'm gonna do my favorite song that I've written. It's not everybody's favorite, but that's tough. I met her in a coffee shop in San Diego. She was working on a midnight shift. Thank you. Now I gotta figure out what I was doing. I met her in a coffee shop in San Diego. She was working on a midnight shift. I was looking for somebody I could spend some time with. I was looking, if you catch my drift. I gave her $20 and said, keep the change. Her face turned a passionate red. She counted out the money, put it in my hand, looked me in the eye and said, don't try to buy my love. Don't try to buy my love. You can hug me, you can squeeze me, do anything to please me, but don't try to buy my love. Six months later, I was bringing in the groceries. I'd been shopping for what seemed like hours. I walked in and handed her a box of chocolates and a great big bunch of flowers. She put her arm around me and said, what have you done? I said, nothing, these are just because. She giggled just a little, took me by the hand and said, don't try to buy my love. Don't try to buy my love. Don't try to buy my love. You can hug me, you can squeeze me, do anything to please me, but don't try to buy my love. Well, I remember one time I turned it around and I used that phrase on her. She was digging through her purse, collecting loose change, 'cause things were as tight as they were. $1.47 piled on the table when she gave that pile a shove. I looked at her and winked, and we both started laughing. I said, don't try to buy my love. Don't try to buy my love. Don't try to buy my love. You can hug me, you can squeeze me, do anything to please me, but don't try to buy my love. Now, some loves last forever, some don't last that long. She took sick and died last year. I wrote down this song. She said I'd forget her, but it hasn't happened yet. I still think about her and that night we met over coffee in a coffee shop in San Diego. She was working on a midnight shift.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for singing along too.
Slim, you can leave that guitar plugged in. Craig Waller's going to play my guitar.
Okie dokie.
Pez, you can unplug.
Thank you.
We're bringing up Redon Ray and Tom Lyle
Thank you.
and Craig Waller.